Welcome back to the Sell Your Business podcast. I'm Brad, and thanks for joining us. In today's episode, we're going to do something a little different. I went down a few weeks ago to visit Raymond Burke of Spraywash in Tallahassee to talk with him about his experience selling his business. So I hope you enjoy this case study of what it looks like through the eyes of someone who has been through the process. I think it answers a whole lot of questions and gives us a very deep insight. Well, hope you enjoy. Let's jump in.
Ray, I think we've talked a little bit about your story, and I think everybody knows who you are.
I guess so. I didn't try to make people know who I am. I just kind of fell into that role. So, yeah.
Well, I think that it's fair to say, and I mean this with all endearment, that you have a outspoken voice in the community and in the industry. And I think, we've had enough time and enough conversations. I know that so much of that is motivated from a real desire to be a positive impact on other people in the industry and on the industry as itself.
I would agree with that. Yes, I would agree with it.
So,
any of my comments, criticisms, activity in the industry does come from wanting the industry to be better.
So today I want to talk a little bit about, you've been through a big transition. So you're the founder of Spraywash.
Yes.
Here in Tallahassee. You started that business from nothing, which is a great story. And I'm sure you've had an opportunity to tell that in many settings. In fact, you go back to an episode I think we did of Technician to CEO, and you can hear that in depth. You grew that business. Then you sold that business.
Yes.
And you're now in the next chapter, of on the other side of that, doing the next thing. So I want to talk a little bit about that process. Okay. And maybe we'll just jump right into what was going on or what made you want to sell a business that you'd built.
There were several things. There wasn't one particular item that said, okay, I've got to sell. Probably one of the major things, though, was what's my exit strategy?
Mm-hmm.
That was a major thing of, okay, what's going to happen with the world? What's going to happen 5 years from now? What's going to happen whenever I finally get ready to retire? Because the way the business was branded, the return on the business, the customer base we had on the business, and it was worth something. You could have taken me out of CEO role. You could have taken my wife out of CEO role and given it to someone else with some business acumen, and it would have continued on our legacy on there. So we knew we had a valuable asset. And then we also look at, we've grown to a point to where, the business is worth 7 figures. What happens? Who buys this? Who winds up? Now, if I'm turning $500,000 a year or so, and I've got, or let's say I'm turning $1 million a year, and I've got a great son or a daughter that's interested in the industry, or I've got a technician that I really trust and I want to do some owner financing for him. Okay, there's an exit strategy for you. I didn't have a son. My 2 daughters could care less about the pressure washing industry.
Yeah.
And, I did not think any of my technicians I had at that point would be responsible enough to go and own or finance a business for them. And as your business grows and grows and grows, the question is, who's going to buy my business?
Yeah.
And it takes a company the size of Fleet Wash, Crystal Clean, to be able to handle that. And that's who we found as a buyer on there. And we're very, very happy with working with them because we knew they had the backing, they had the size and the strength to, complete the purchase on there. Because whenever you're getting a service business, the term blue sky, you really are selling a lot of blue sky. They could have cared less about our equipment. They've got their own type of equipment that they wanted. They've got their own look on the trucks that they have.
Mm-hmm.
They're buying our book of business. They're buying our accounts. They're buying contracts. They're buying relationships on there. So we knew that I know I'm just bouncing from things.
No,
I'm
it's
getting
okay.
a little bit deep on here, but this is, and it took a company that had some size and some strength on there to actually be able to afford to buy that. And if you go to a bank, let's say that you didn't have $1 million that we're going to sell for, and you go to a bank and you say, okay, I'd like to borrow, $1 million to purchase this business. And they say, okay, 20% down, you're going to need $200,000 down. And let's look into this business. Oh, what does this business have to offer? Okay. Are you buying brick and mortar site? Are you buying real estate? No. Okay. Are you buying equipment? All right. You're going to buy, 8 used pressure washers and 5 vehicles. What is that worth? But it takes a company that understands the value of the relationships and the value of repeat business and the value of factoring in these accounts over a period of years. And they understand the value of your business.
Yeah.
So going back to the original question, one of the reasons that we wanted to sell, and one of the reasons that we chose FleetWash and the way that FleetWash chose us, their size. We knew that they could actually give us what we wanted and could perform with what we needed.
Did you always know for a long time that this would eventually be what you wanted, was to build a business that you could sell when you were ready?
Had no idea.
Okay.
Honestly, I had no idea that when I started this, that it would morph into something that it did.
Yeah.
I mean, I really was the guy that went to Home Depot, bought the pressure washer, started knocking on doors. And then, after about year 5, we had a very good commercial success, a very good financial success in there, and then kept on capitalizing on that and grew every year. Really to a point where about year 9 or so, we really tried to pump the brakes a little bit on the growth and say, okay, we're right here at that 7 figures per year. We're good with that. I don't want to add on more trucks. I don't want to add on more technicians. Really happy doing this, 900,000 to $1.1 million or so a year.
Yeah, we, in our conversations with Tony and I have had over the last couple of days, talking about all these things, there definitely is a point around that size where, unless you want to really jump into the next phase of having a management layer in your business, you kind of get to where you're at the limit of what you can handle on a day-to-day basis.
That's all you can do. I mean, and then, you get into a death zone for entrepreneurs, at least in this industry. And I would assume it would be like plumbing, electricians, and everything, in that, it's pretty easy to manage 3 trucks.
Yeah.
Now you get into 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 trucks. Now you're in that death zone, that there's no oxygen. There's not the extra money to put another truck on the road, and you're already, as the entrepreneur, you're dying. You're not dying. You're living your best life, but you're also taxed. You're wearing so many hats.
Yeah.
The hair's getting worn off your head from changing the hats all the time. And now you go to a situation of I can't afford to hire a quality control manager at $1 million a year. Whenever I'm grossing that $1 million, that $1.1 million, $1.2 million, I can't afford to go and hire a quality control manager. I can't afford to hire a full-time mechanic. I can't afford to hire these things that I really need to continue my expansion on there. And I believe whenever you would get up to, from the numbers that I've seen, that $1.5 million to $1.7 million, $2 million, now you've gotten some extra cash in there and you can do that. But I think it's really tough around that 700,000 to about $1.4 million. I think that's a death zone for growth of a company.
So when you kind of got, as you described, somewhere living between like the death zone and your best life.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, and literally, and it can change from one to another in a matter of moments.
Yeah. At what point did you kind of say, You know what? I'd like to look at having an exit strategy. What changed?
Gosh, COVID. COVID changed us a great deal. We sold during the COVID phase and we're plugging along and business was great. I mean, we only suffered about a 7-8% loss during the COVID time. But I looked at my wife and I said, Tanya, this is absolutely insane. Our residential's way up, our commercial was way down first year of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, who would have thought that the world could literally, I mean, it may not have stopped us from spinning, but it dang sure wobbled us on our axis for a while. And that made me think that if this little thing right here, this little virus could change the world so dramatically, maybe we need to look at cashing out, putting that money in the bank and looking at the next phase of our life and doing something smaller, easier, less stress. So we're, mentioning why we sell it, and COVID was a big part of it. Furthermore, future expansion and seeing our legacy continue on and reaching that next level, like we talked about the death zone of the companies. We knew that to continue to expand, we wouldn't be able to do that on our own.
Mm-hmm.
Well, never say never. We could have done that on our own. It would have taken extreme capital investment. Like I was saying, so we're running 4 service trucks. To go to the next level, if I was to put a 5th service truck on, I'm now going to have to hire 2 more technicians and another truck. And I'm going to have to hire a shop steward or a mechanic or a quality control manager, somewhere in that, $40,000 to $60,000 a year. Somebody that was going to have to be the jack of all trades to pull me out of the shop or me out of the field or me out of somewhere to free up that, to start wearing that hat for me. Plus 2 technicians, plus a truck. And then whenever you look at that, it's like, okay, now, so truck number 5, the profit's already gone from truck number 5.
Yeah.
So why would I add truck number 5 without doing truck number 6? So it's not to go to the next level, to kick it up one more notch to do that. We're essentially losing money to go to the next level. So now we need to go from 4 trucks to 6 trucks.
Yeah.
And go from $1 million to $1.5 million or so. Pretty big jump on there. And I think our market could have done it, but it wasn't necessarily a risk that I wanted to take, a financial risk that I wanted to take. And thank God we didn't, because then because it's easy to go and lose 10% a year for a while, while something happens. It kind of sucks to start losing 30%, 40% per year whenever the world gets wobbled on its axis. Yeah. Having a large, partner, and I do, and even though they bought us out, I still considered our work with them being much like partners. I mean, because we took a contract back, we worked with them, we fully integrated, Crystal Clean and Spraywash together. It wasn't like, okay, here's your check, get the heck out of here. They want to keep you involved so that they could maximize profits from your customers and also maximize your customers' experience with them and to maximize your happiness as a seller with them too.
Yeah. Do you feel like going through that process had positive long-term effects for your team, for your employees?
Yes. Those who were willing to open their hearts and minds, Crystal Clean could pay my guys much better than I ever dreamed of paying them. My guys are making twice what they made.
Wow.
I have technicians that are pulling $80,000 a year that I was able to pay 40 to.
Yeah. And that's a really cool benefit that, I think going through the process can really open up things for your people who obviously are a huge motivation for any.
It's life-changing to your team. I mean, in a positive way.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are, these were people that believed in me, and they were happy at that $40,000 a year. They were hardworking, salt of the earth guys.
Yeah.
And now suddenly they're making twice that by
That's
a
amazing.
company it's incredible for them, and it's a company that literally they get to truly be technicians. They get to, okay, here's what you wash. here's the work order, get it done. They have a mechanic to take care of their truck. They have all these levels of service that the company provides to the employees itself, and it's
Yeah.
amazing for them.
Yeah, they get to stop switching some of the hats
Right.
they had to
Yeah.
switch.
Yeah. It's not like, oh crap, I got to fix this pump. How did Ray say to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's yeah.
So let's talk about the process.
Okay.
What was that like?
Very easy. Now, because we were listed with a broker, I understand the process was somewhat different for us than it was for a lot of the companies. We were compensated very rapidly, partially, and then for in a number of months afterwards, we received the final part of our compensation.
Mhm.
We had to make sure that our numbers proved out, that within 6 months or so that the book of business that we had was repeating, or at least a certain percentage of them was repeating on
Right.
there. This is an industry where there's not necessarily a lot of contracts per se.
Yeah.
But we have 6-figure customers that we do weekly that we've never had a signed agreement with. That, he has a scope of work that we show up and perform for them,
Mhm.
either monthly or weekly,
Mhm.
and are compensated to the point of saying well over 6 figures with no signed contract. And when you've been doing that job for 9 years, there's a pretty good assumption that
Yeah.
it's going to continue if you can continue providing the same level of service.
Right. So for you, because you had done some preparation work, it was kind of quick in the beginning. And then, what was that phase like where you were, being a part of integrating Crystal Clean with your company and all of that? What was that like?
Wonderful. I mean, hey, I don't mean to make this a commercial for Crystal Clean, but things like it would bug me to go and I had old plywood for my lifts.
Mm-hmm.
Plywood with rope handles on it that I had, had for years and years and years. And I know that these sheets of plywood cost me, $45 a piece, and it might be looking a little bit ragged.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go and throw those away. Crystal Clean Fleet Wash said, okay, buy some new Granger mats. Yeah, I don't care if they're $230 a piece. You've got the credit card, do it. They didn't bust me on, they weren't nickel and diming me on anything. Hey, we need, Ray, your supplies, your quick connectors and spare pumps. We like to have a little more of those in stock than you have. Okay, that's a lot of money. We don't care. Okay, buy it. Okay, I mean, it was and that part where it was truly wonderful. I mean, they did not care. They weren't going, okay, well, you know what, we gave you a lot of money and we expect this pressure washer to have a spare belt or something on. No, it was hey, this is what we want for great operations. You've done a good job. We're a little bit different. Spend the money to bring yourself into compliance with us.
Yeah.
And they have everything figured out as well too. I mean, their support team was amazing. It was, okay, here's your DOT numbers we need to have on your trucks. Here's your tag that we need to have on your equipment. Here is 6 new cell phones for your technicians and your team. And the apps are preloaded on there. And it's just like, wow, because they so good about taking care of the stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it still blows my mind, you know?
Well, that's a big difference between the company where you were at and where they're at, the amount of systems that they have
Right.
in place
Right. Yeah.
to do that. And you just
Mhm.
got the benefit from it. You just instantaneously
Just
there.
instant benefit.
Which is so interesting. Like, and I'm kind of learning through a lot of this process.
Mhm.
I'm not an acquisitions expert, and I've been so amazed at all of these little intangible benefits that people get along the way.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really cool. One of the things that is no doubt hard for any entrepreneur is anything they build, it's their baby.
Yes.
I mean, a huge amount of their identity is wrapped up in it. Tell me about the process of what was that like for you? Because obviously your identity has to change as it's no longer just your baby anymore.
It's probably the hardest part. That probably, and I think everybody that was actually harder on me than I realized it would be, because of what I did in the industry, because of the teaching that I did, because of the consulting, I was really known. I was really wrapped up with my Spraywash identity. We have a school. We have, well, people knew us by our company. That was strange, and I think that also is going to be different for everybody, depending at what stage of your life you're at, or what stage of fed up you're at with your company, or what stage of happy you're at with your company. I could see that had that process delayed about a year or so, I probably would have been even more ready, because things haven't gotten easier, with life during that COVID, that second year of COVID.
Right.
Then all of a sudden stuff now, and the third year of it, now we're dealing with supply chain issues and problems like that. I could see that. I probably would have really, like, if I'd have sold in 2022, middle of 2022, I probably would have been like, yeah, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm over it, but there is a little bit of an issue of losing your identity. However, since most of the time, whenever you're getting acquired, you're hanging around for a little while. You're not just put out to pasture. And, even now, my contract is done, and I purchased a power wash store and selling equipment, but they still call on me for training. They still call on me I'm going to Jacksonville, in January to train up all their technicians there for a nice sit down for plant and property protection. I'm going to Tampa next week to deliver equipment and do a training session with one of their acquisitions down in the Tampa St. Pete area next week. So, yeah.
Have you find an enjoyment in wanting to still be involved with all that? Is
absolutely,
that yeah,
absolutely. I love the industry in general. I mean, I love seeing them grow. I love seeing my other customers grow. I love seeing people be successful.
Do you have any advice for anybody about how to go through that identity change, looking at it at this point? Or is it still too new?
Be very proud of what you've done, and be okay that your legacy lasts. But at some point, you can either work yourself into a grave, or you can let someone else take the reins and go with it.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
That's good advice. So what's next for you, Ray?
I don't know. I mean, we have obviously the retail store. We have we own the franchise rights to Florida for the power wash store, and we have we're selling chemicals and equipment. We're still doing consulting and education. Love teaching my family of pressure washers, plant and property protection and how to build and scale a business. I see that going on some more too, but I'm 52 years old and
young man.
Yeah, I mean, I can do whatever I really want to do at this point. So,
yeah. Buy the boat.
Yeah.
Hang out. Do the thing.
Yep. I guess it's a journey. They always say it's life is a journey, not a destination, and enjoy the journey,
Yeah.
just enjoy it, I mean, take whatever comes at you and roll with it. I mean, it's not whenever you wind up selling your business, and this is such a way to still be engaged with it. And I have a feeling that if I went back and I said, guys, you know what, I can't stand being fully detached from my business. I want back in. I want to be involved somehow. I have a feeling they'd find me a position, a job there.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, I think it's the kind of people they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of helping Tony with acquisitions, as it is. I mean, they've said, and Jeremy's told me, well, if you ever want to, work on projects, here it is. Have at it. Let us know. I'm already I'm already doing the training with them. So, dare say this company is one of those that you tell them what you want, they're going to work with you.
Yeah.
I mean, they're cool to work with. They really are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really neat that you have that perspective on it. I know you wouldn't say it if you didn't mean it.
No, I do. I mean, it's I'm very honest with that,
Yeah, very cool. Well, I appreciate this, Ray. I appreciate you sharing some of the journey that you've been through and the process that you've been through. And everything in life, it's not all, just roses and sunshine and all that. It is a process, and I think this is certainly an option, for people to go into that next phase. And like you said, there is even life in your business after a merger, after an acquisition.
So. Absolutely. And again, I go back to the things of what we initially talked about, but what is your exit strategy? And so many of us just wind up working ourselves into the early grave. We don't ever figure out what the exit strategy was. And if I would have had the exit strategy, let's say 4 years before I sold, 3 years before I sold, probably would have looked a little bit different on there, but we would have done it. We still would have been acquired. We would have set this company up probably with some more written contracts on there, probably with some more recurring maintenance type scenarios on there, to where things that really had super high value to whatever purchaser on there. We probably would have leased some more equipment, or just done some, maybe had some newer trucks on there, but again, they weren't picky about the equipment. But we could have structured a little bit differently had we started considering our exit strategy earlier. But this is still, I want to just hammer on this. You work for 5, 10, 15 years building a company, building a customer base, making and let's face it, if you can make it 10 years in the pressure washing business with multiple trucks, you've got some legs. I mean, I know lots of guys that have been in the business for 10 years that still have a pull behind pressure washer, that if, God forbid something should happen to them, they are their business. We built it up to where Tanya and I, we were our business, but at the same time, we weren't our business. Mm-hmm. We could go on vacation for 2 weeks at a time. Now we might come home to a stack of messages, this deep, but work didn't stop. We still had crews out working. We still had technicians performing. We still had money coming in. So once you get past to that level on there, now really is time to think about that exit strategy. What am I going to do when I'm done? Because you're missing a big part of your retirement strategy if you just shut it down, or you just close the doors, or you just kind of decide to cut back and not take on as much business and let it die off to something that's much more, quiet and manageable. You're losing stuff that's substantially worth money.
Yeah.
Or worth substantial money, should I say.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's That's really good advice. And I think if you kind of mix that with what you shared with it, and I know there's different companies that acquire and they have different reasoning, but if you have the right match and the right company that acquires you, maybe you're tired of having all the responsibility, but you can cash in on that equity and then maybe kind of work in a capacity that makes you happy. You still get to be involved. You still have the purpose in it. And you didn't have to, just like you said, scale your business down to next to nothing to that pace. You actually get the benefit from it. So,
what if you had the business and you say, okay, you know what? I can't stand running it. I don't want anything with this, but dang it, I love washing. I absolutely love washing. You could still be a technician. You could still, and I mean a really well-paid technician for the company. You could still do that and let them take over the management aspect of it, because you don't have to be $1 million, $1.5 million company for them to be interested in buying you. I mean, they'll look at a lot of different companies out there. It's more the quality of your customer base than it is the size of your company.
So I really, and I appreciate that advice. I think that is such a different perspective than what I would imagine. Cause I'd never thought that this was a thing that people could have this outcome. That's not a perspective that maybe people are even considering.
Yeah, I agree.
So thanks again, Ray.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Sell Your Business podcast. As always, we believe the best gift an entrepreneur can give themselves is an exit plan. If you'd like to talk to Tony or I more, please visit yourexitplan.net, where you can set up a time with Tony and I to chat a little bit about, what does that look like for you? What questions do you have around developing your exit plan? We'd love to chat with you. We'd love to help you out. That is our passion. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.